Imagine a single tree that holds within its leaves the power to disrupt a $114 billion industry. A tree that functions not as a crop, but as an entire agricultural system, thriving in the drought and heat that turn conventional farms to dust. Its leaves produce more protein than alfalfa. It can be harvested up to 5 times a year. It requires no annual replanting. It saves farmers the cost of commercial grain, season after season, for decades. The science on this tree is not new. It is documented in 50 peer-reviewed studies. Farmers in India and Africa have relied on it for millennia. But in America, the USDA will pay farmers to research this marvelous tree, while making sure it never truly competes. This is moringa, the best feed crop on the planet, and the system they built to make sure it stays a secret. The story of that system's failure begins not with a fight, but with a dream. On a 75-acre ranch in Harlingen, Texas, Diana Padilla had built her farm from the ground up. It was a certified organic ecosystem, a bustling harmony of chickens, cattle, and pigs. But at its center, the small flock of lambs. They were the heart of the operation. Proof that even on a small scale, a farm could be both ethical and profitable. That was the dream. Then, in the summer of 2022, the dream gave way to the nightmare, the drought. Diana watched her pastures go from green to brown to cracked earth. The grass didn't just die, it vanished. At the same time, the price of commercial feed didn't just climb, it multiplied. The lamb pellets that were once a predictable expense became a monthly crisis, a line item on a spreadsheet that was actively erasing her business. She wasn't just losing money, she was subsidizing a system that was putting her under. Every month she bought feed was another month closer to giving up the lambs entirely. Her dream was dying. And then, one sweltering afternoon, standing on her porch looking out at the cracked earth, she saw it. An island of green in a sea of brown. The moringa trees she'd planted years earlier as a small side project, mostly for tea and powder, weren't just surviving the drought. They were thriving. They stood there in the brutal Texas heat, as if they didn't even notice the crisis. That's when the thought hit her. The solution wasn't in a feed store in town. It was 10 yards from her front door, so she did something simple. She cut the leaves and fed them to a few lambs. Not as a supplement, as a replacement. Within weeks, she noticed something. The lambs weren't just surviving. They were gaining weight. They looked healthier than the ones still on commercial feed. Diana had stumbled onto the same discovery farmers in Nicaragua, Egypt, and India had made decades ago. The legend was real, and now she had proof growing in her own backyard. She started researching, and what she found wasn't fringe science or homesteader folklore. It was decades of peer-reviewed data that somehow never made it to American farms. Moringa leaves contain 24 to 27% crude protein by dry weight. Alfalfa, the gold standard for ruminant feed in America, contains 18.7%. Moringa isn't just competitive, it's superior. But protein content alone doesn't tell the whole story. What matters is how much of that protein actually reaches the animal's bloodstream instead of being lost during digestion. Nutritionists call this bypass protein. Moringa delivers 47% bypass protein. Nearly half of what you feed actually gets absorbed. That's the efficiency you can't buy in a bag. The research backing this isn't thin, it's overwhelming. In Nicaragua, dairy farmers using moringa reported milk production increases of 43 to 65%. In Egypt, Fayoum University ran controlled trials on lambs. Animals on 15% moringa inclusion gained more weight while feed costs dropped 5 to 12%. Over 50 peer-reviewed feeding trials exist. This isn't speculation. It's documented science. And none of this is new. Moringa has been used as livestock fodder for thousands of years. In India, farmers have fed it to cattle for generations. Across Africa's Sahel region, it keeps animals alive during dry seasons. In the Philippines, it has been part of agricultural systems longer than anyone can remember. Diana was not inventing something revolutionary. She was rediscovering a system that had been erased from American agriculture entirely. The science was clear. The history was proven. All she needed was validation. So she did something most farmers would never consider. She asked the government for help. In 2023, Diana applied for a Sustainable Agriculture Research and Education Grant, SARE, one of the USDA programs designed to help farmers test innovative practices on working farms. $15,000, enough to run a proper trial with measurable outcomes. Real research, not backyard experimentation. Her experiment design was rigorous. Individual pens for each lamb so she could track them separately. Commercial sheep pellets were replaced with farm-grown moringa at different percentages: 15%, 25%, 50%, 75%, all the way up to complete replacement. She would track weekly live weight, final market weight, feed costs, labor costs. Everything was documented and quantified, the kind of data that could actually prove something. And the USDA approved it. For one moment, it looked like the system was working. A small organic farmer in Texas had observable results. She applied for institutional support, and she got it. Grant number FS23348. Official recognition that her idea was worth investigating. The project runs through March 2025. Diana is collecting data right now. If her results match what the international research shows, she will have documented proof that American farmers can slash their feed costs with a tree they grow themselves. But as Diana dug deeper into what would happen after the trial, she discovered something that changed everything. The USDA would pay her to prove moringa works, but their own rules guarantee that the proof will not matter. Here is what Diana learned, and what they do not tell you when they hand you a research grant. The first wall is the Association of American Feed Control Officials, AAFCO. They publish the official dictionary of legal animal feed ingredients in America. If you want to sell commercial feed across state lines, every single ingredient must appear in the AAFCO official publication. Moringa is not in the book, not approved as a feed additive, not listed as generally recognized as safe for livestock. Using moringa in commercial feed makes that feed adulterated under federal law. You can research it, you can prove it works. But the moment you try to sell it, you are breaking the law. 50 feeding trials, thousands of years of traditional use. None of it counts without the AAFCO listing. The second wall is insurance. The USDA Risk Management Agency provides crop insurance for more than 120 commodities. Total liability last year was $192 billion. Corn is covered. Soybeans are covered. 72 specialty crops have policies. Moringa has zero coverage, not even listed as a specialty crop. No insurance means no protection if the trees fail, and that means nothing to offer as collateral. The third wall is financing. Connect the dots. No AAFCO approval means no established commercial market. No insurance means no guaranteed asset value. No price history, no yield benchmarks, no precedent for lenders to evaluate. Agricultural banks consider moringa unlendable. The absence of the system becomes the barrier itself. You cannot get approved because nobody else has been approved. The fourth wall is the incumbent industry itself. The American animal feed market generates $114 billion per year. Cargill operates over 280 locations. A DM runs 280 mills. Purina reaches 4,700 cooperatives. These companies do not need to attack moringa. They do not need to fund studies against it or lobby to keep it out. They do not have to do anything. The regulations were written for corn and soy. The infrastructure was built for corn and soy. The subsidies flow to corn and soy. The entire system was designed around annual crops that farmers must purchase every single season. Moringa is not being actively suppressed. It is being structurally excluded. A crop that is decentralized, perennial, and self-sufficient threatens every business model built on farmers staying dependent. If you're realizing the most expensive part of farming isn't the feed itself, but the rulebook designed to make you buy it, subscribe. We expose these systems one buried crop at a time. Diana understood the wall, so she stopped trying to climb it. She walked around it. She founded Hope for Small Farm Sustainability, a non-profit focused on teaching small farmers sustainable practices they can implement on their own land, for their own animals, without needing commercial approval. In May 2024, that organization secured a $7.4 million USDA grant. Not to sell moringa feed commercially, to teach other farmers how to grow it themselves. Diana can't crack the commercial system, but she can spread the knowledge outside of it. Farm by farm, rancher by rancher, building a network. The regulations were never designed to stop. And she's not alone. In Whitman, Arizona, Dwayne and Lori Heber run Edge of Nowhere Farm, 6 acres in the Sonoran Desert. They are growing moringa as fodder for chickens and pigs in conditions that would destroy any conventional feed crop. They host workshops and farm tours, proving the model works in climates even harsher than South Texas. Then there is Jacobo in Nicaragua. He is a third-generation cattle farmer. He planted moringa trees as fence posts decades ago. At first, they were just property markers. Then his cattle started eating the leaves, and he noticed they were healthier than his neighbors' herds. Today, Jacobo manages 50 million moringa trees. His operation supplies Kuli Kuli Foods, one of the largest moringa companies in the world. What Diana is proving on 75 acres in Texas, Jacobo scaled into a commercial empire in Central America. The model works. The science is proven. The only thing missing in America is permission. And these farmers stopped waiting for it. The system is not broken. That is the part people miss. It is working exactly as designed, built to protect a centralized, high-input model where farmers buy feed every season, where perennial crops are inconvenient, and where self-sufficiency is a threat to quarterly earnings. Moringa is decentralized. One farmer, one grove, infinite harvests. Moringa is low input, no annual replanting, no synthetic fertilizers required. Moringa is self-sufficient, and that is exactly why the system will never fast-track it through approval. The USDA is paying Diana Padilla to write a report their own rules are designed to ignore. The illusion of progress, without the threat of change. But she is not writing that report for them. She is creating a playbook for how to opt out, a playbook for how to turn a backyard weed into a feed bill executioner, a playbook for how to build a resilient farm outside the walls of a system that needs you to fail. She is writing it for you. Subscribe to Nature's Hidden Archive. We dig up the crops, the systems, and the economics. Big Ag spent a century trying to bury. Drop a comment below. Are you using alternative feed on your farm? Have you tried moringa? I want to know what the system doesn't. The next Hidden Archive drops soon.